The galaxy had known peace for centuries, but it was a peace built on fear and control. The Solari Empire, the largest and most powerful civilization in the known stars, ruled with strict order. Its fleets patrolled borders, its scholars discovered secrets of the universe, and its leaders commanded respect if not always love. For the Solari, power and knowledge were the highest virtues, and yet, even in their vast confidence, no one expected the small, fragile humans to appear in their midst. The first sign came as a faint signal, picked up by the deep space arrays orbiting ZalorAPrime, the capital of the Empire. Scholars in crystal towers across the city decoded it, scratching their tentacles and scanning their instruments in confusion. The signal was unlike any they had seen. It lacked the complex encryption typical of other civilizations. It carried no threat, and yet, it was deliberate, intelligent, and persistent. An unknown vessel approaches, reported Lyran, a young scholar whose curiosity often outran caution. It comes from the edge of the Theta Rift. Its technology is unfamiliar. I cannot identify it. High Chancellor Zyron, whose shimmering form radiated authority and experience, turned his gaze toward the star charts. His compound, high above the floating city, vibrated slightly as the energy of the sensors pulsed through the air. Humans, Zyron said before anyone else could speak. The word sounded strange on his tongue, foreign yet heavy with meaning. They are primitive. They cannot rival us. Prepare a welcome party. Let us observe them closely. The council murmured in agreement, some with curiosity, others with amusement. Humans, after all, were not known beyond their small cluster of stars. They had been dismissed by the galaxy as a fragile, simple species unable to survive outside their home planet. And yet, the humans did not arrive with timid signals or fragile ships. They came with a vessel unlike any the Solari had encountered. It was small but sturdy, sleek in design, and glowing faintly with a soft light that seemed almost alive. It moved with grace, weaving past asteroid fields and gravitational anomalies with effortless precision. When it landed on the central plateau of ZalorAPrime, the aliens were waiting, arrayed in their ceremonial robes of authority. The air shimmered with anticipation and subtle energy weapons, ready in case of aggression. But the humans did not emerge with weapons raised. They stepped out calmly, their movements deliberate and confident. Captain Elena Cross led them. Her hair was tied back, her eyes steady, and her expression calm. Behind her were scientists, engineers, and diplomats, all moving with quiet purpose. No one carried heavy arms. Their suits were functional, designed for exploration and safety, not combat. High Chancellor Zyron observed them closely, his gaze sweeping over every detail. He had expected fear, hesitation, or perhaps an offer of surrender. What he saw instead was something unfamiliar: courage, curiosity, and dignity. "Welcome to ZalorAPrime," Elena said in a clear voice, translated perfectly by their universal communicator. "We come in peace. We seek understanding and cooperation, not conflict. We wish to learn about your civilization, share knowledge, and explore the stars together." The aliens exchanged glances. Cooperation was not the language of the galaxy. Diplomacy existed, but usually only after power had been established. For the Solari, it was strange to be approached not as masters, but as equals, or even as observers. High Chancellor Zyron's voice resonated like crystal chimes. "You claim to come in peace. And yet, what is your purpose? What do humans gain from our knowledge and technology?" Elena smiled faintly. "We gain understanding. Knowledge itself is valuable. We wish to share discoveries and learn from each other. That is all." Lyran, the young scholar, leaned forward. "They speak boldly. They show no fear, even in the presence of the highest authority of the Solari Empire. Perhaps they are different." Different. That word rippled through the council chambers, like a sudden wind. None of the elders spoke openly, but the thought lingered. Humans were small, fragile, and young in the galaxy. Yet something about them sparked curiosity and unease. Over the next days, the humans were guided through the city. They observed alien technology, strange energy grids, and towering constructs that reached the skies. They asked questions with polite curiosity, their voices soft but confident. They took notes, sketched diagrams, and offered insights that startled even the most learned Solari scholars. When a complex energy field was explained to them, a defense system meant to protect the city, Elena tilted her head and asked, "Why not stabilize it with a simpler phase alignment? It could save energy and reduce risk of overload." The lead engineer froze. Such a solution had never been considered. The Solari valued power, precision, and tradition. Efficiency was secondary. And yet, here was a human, offering a suggestion that was both simple and brilliant. Word spread quickly. The elders whispered among themselves. Primitive? Fragile? Perhaps not as we assumed, but not all reactions were favorable. Some military commanders muttered in disdain, seeing humans as a threat that would need to be controlled. Others, particularly younger scientists, felt excitement, a spark of hope for discovery that had long been absent in their rigid society. Meanwhile, humans explored beyond the city. They walked on alien planes, studied bioluminescent plants, and observed creatures that defied imagination. They treated every encounter with respect, avoiding harm, and asking questions as though every life mattered equally. One human scientist, Dr. Malik, gently moved aside a group of insects that glowed with energy. "They are part of this world," he said softly. "We must not harm them. Observation is enough." The aliens who watched from above were stunned. In their culture, life was valuable only as long as it served purpose. Humans valued life for itself. It was an idea that shook assumptions deeply. Captain Elena met with the council several times. Each meeting tested the humans' patience and diplomacy. Questions were sharp. Some intended to intimidate. But the humans answered with clarity, humility, and confidence. They did not brag, they did not insult, and they never wavered under pressure. By the end of the week, the council convened in secret. High Chancellor Zyron's voice, usually filled with certainty, carried a note of uncertainty. These humans, they are unlike any species we have met. Their strength is not in machines, nor in weapons, nor in power. Yet, they command attention, respect, and curiosity. Lyron, the young scholar, whispered to a colleague, "Perhaps we have underestimated them. They may be small, but there is something in them that transcends their size." The humans themselves remained calm, unaware of the stir they had caused. They explored the city, engaged with scholars, and learned the history of the Solari Empire. Every step they took, every question they asked, left the aliens questioning assumptions long held. Even as the days passed, tension remained. The elders of the Empire were not ready to admit what they felt. Some called the humans naive, others called them clever, but all agreed on one thing. The presence of humans had changed the atmosphere of Zalora Prime. A small, fragile species had arrived, and their very existence challenged the Empire's sense of superiority. The humans' final act before the first part of their stay concluded was simple, yet profound. Elena requested a meeting with the scientists and engineers who had been most skeptical. She asked to see the central energy grid, a massive structure that powered the city. Instead of criticizing, she suggested improvements, small adjustments that would increase efficiency, reduce waste, and improve safety. The engineers were stunned. A species they considered primitive had offered solutions that they themselves had never considered. High Chancellor Zyron, observing from above, finally spoke aloud. "These humans, they are not what we expected. They may teach us something important." The humans left the first days of their visit quietly. But the Empire had been shaken. In corridors of crystal towers and across ceremonial chambers, whispers spread. The humans are extraordinary. And though no one dared speak it openly yet, every elder knew one thing. This small human ship, carrying these fragile beings, had arrived not to conquer, but to reveal a truth that could change the galaxy forever. The galaxy watched. The humans were here. And the Empire was already beginning to wonder. Could these humans be more than they seemed? The humans had been on Prime for several weeks now. Their presence, once treated with curiosity and mild amusement, had begun to ripple through the Empire like a slow, unstoppable wave. Young scientists whispered of them in corridors. Soldiers paused mid-patrol to watch their strange movements. Even merchants selling luminous trinkets in the floating markets noticed the humans' calm confidence. High Chancellor Xiron, ever observant, remained skeptical. He had seen clever species before. Species that could imitate intelligence and manipulate technology. But humans were different. They did not seek to impress or dominate. They solved problems, adapted quickly, and most unsettlingly, they inspired those around them. Elena Cross and her team had requested a series of trials. They said it was a way for both humans and aliens to learn from each other. Xiron reluctantly agreed, thinking it would expose the humans' limitations. The first trial was in engineering. The Solari had constructed a massive energy lattice, a network of interlocking conduits, pulsing with a strange blue light. It was meant to store and redirect energy across the city, but it was unstable. Past attempts by the Empire's best engineers had failed to fully stabilize it. The humans observed quietly, walking among the humming conduits. Dr. Malik crouched to examine a junction, tracing the pathways with his fingers. Elena studied the control panel, her brow furrowed in concentration. One of the elder engineers, Zytra, scoffed. They will fail. No species with such primitive technology could comprehend the lattice. It is beyond them. Elena did not respond with words. Instead, she adjusted a few settings, suggested a reroute of certain energy conduits, and tapped a sequence on a control panel. Slowly, the lattice began to stabilize. The energy flowed more smoothly, the hum softened, and the pulsing lights became rhythmic and predictable. The aliens gasped. A species they considered fragile and unsophisticated had solved a problem that had confounded their brightest minds. Whispers of amazement spread across the room. "It is brilliant in its simplicity," muttered a young scholar, Lyron, unable to contain his astonishment. The humans did not boast. They simply explained their thought process. "We look for balance," Elena said. "Efficiency is not always about power. Sometimes it is about harmony." The next trial took them to the planet's surface. Prime was known for its harsh terrain, jagged cliffs, volatile energy storms, and creatures that could consume entire colonies in minutes. The humans were asked to navigate a dangerous canyon maze, avoiding both natural hazards and automated security drones. The alien soldiers, confident in their superior technology, expected the humans to fail immediately. They had underestimated human adaptability. Elena led her team with careful precision, using minimal equipment. They observed patterns, predicted drone movements, and adjusted their path in real time. Where aliens relied on brute force, humans relied on observation, teamwork, and quick reasoning. At one point, a sudden energy storm erupted, threatening to knock them off the cliff. One of the engineers froze, fearing the worst. But Elena grabbed his arm, shouting instructions calmly. Together, the humans created a temporary energy shield, using portable devices they had built, protecting themselves and the alien engineer. By the time they reached the canyon's end, the watching aliens were stunned into silence. Humans, they realized, were not only clever, they were resilient, creative, and courageous. The Empire's scholars began taking notes. The military began asking questions. Even the Elder Council, usually resistant to change, found themselves intrigued. But the most remarkable trial came when the humans encountered another alien species. The Cerelians were a reclusive group, long considered extinct, living in hidden caves beneath Prime's surface. They were fragile, highly intelligent, and feared by many. The Empire had long debated whether to make contact at all. Elena insisted on meeting them. She approached the Cerelians with calm words. gestures of peace, and offers of friendship. The Cerelians, wary at first, observed her. Slowly, they began to respond, sharing knowledge and stories they had never revealed to any alien race. The Empire's observers could hardly believe it. Humans had done what the most advanced diplomats had failed to accomplish. They had earned the trust of a reclusive species. Lyran, the young scholar, whispered to a colleague. They understand something we do not. They do not dominate. They connect. Humans also shared their own culture. They demonstrated ways to communicate without force, shared problem-solving strategies, and even discussed art, music, and philosophy. The aliens, who had always considered emotions a weakness, found themselves captivated. A melody played by one of the human scientists on a small device caused even the most stoic soldiers to pause. Elena noticed the reaction, but said nothing. She had a mission. Not to impress, but to reveal the potential of humanity. Over the weeks, the humans continued to surprise. They repaired ancient machines that the Solari had long abandoned as unusable. They predicted outcomes of complex political conflicts with clarity, often suggesting compromises that avoided violence. One particularly challenging scenario involved two alien factions within the Empire. They were on the brink of war over a border dispute. Traditional Solari diplomacy had failed. Weapons were poised, fleets ready to strike. Elena studied the situation carefully. She requested a meeting with both factions, offering a neutral space for discussion. Using logic, empathy, and reason, she guided the factions toward understanding each other's needs. Slowly, tensions eased. By the end of the session, the factions agreed to a temporary truce, something no Solari diplomat had managed in decades. The aliens were astounded. Humans, they realized, had a power they could not quantify. Wisdom, combined with compassion. It was not technology that made humans remarkable, it was their perspective, their ability to see possibilities beyond dominance and control. Even High Chancellor Zyron could not hide his surprise. In private, he addressed the council. These humans, they challenge everything we know. Not through force, not through machines, but through insight. They are extraordinary. The council remained divided. Some elders feared that this human influence would weaken the Empire. Others, particularly the younger generation, saw an opportunity to learn and grow. During a final trial, the humans were asked to save a group of alien scientists trapped in a failing research station on a volatile moon. Explosions shook the area. Energy storms raged, and the environment threatened to collapse. The humans acted with speed and coordination. They stabilized the station, repaired critical systems, and evacuated the scientists without casualties. The aliens watched, mouths open in disbelief. Elena looked at the rescued scientists and said softly, "Every life matters. Every choice matters. We do not measure success by destruction, but by what we protect and create." The words echoed through the alien minds, leaving a deep impression. For centuries, the Empire had measured strength by control and efficiency, yet here was a species showing them that true power could lie in care, creativity, and courage. By the end of the trials, the Empire had changed in subtle but profound ways. Scholars spoke more openly about cooperation. Soldiers considered strategy beyond aggression. And even the elders could not deny that humans had revealed something the Solari had long forgotten. That intelligence alone does not define greatness. Perspective, empathy, and adaptability mattered just as much, if not more. Captain Elena and her team did not claim victory. They simply observed the reactions, quietly teaching through example. Their purpose was not conquest, but revelation. To show the galaxy that humans, though small and fragile, possessed a remarkable and rare combination of qualities. Lyran, standing in a hall filled with alien technology, whispered to no one in particular, "We have much to learn. They are incredible." High Chancellor Zyron, watching from above, remained silent. For the first time in centuries, he felt uncertainty and curiosity. He wondered, if humans could teach the Empire something so profound in mere weeks, what might they accomplish in years, decades, or centuries? The humans had arrived as outsiders, small and fragile. By the end of the second part of their journey, they had become something more. A mirror, reflecting the best of what the Empire could become, and revealing truths long forgotten. The galaxy had begun to notice. And even though no one dared speak it yet, the message was clear. Humans were not just visitors. They were teachers, challengers, and catalysts for change, and the aliens, for all their knowledge and power, were left to wonder. Could a species so young and small truly hold the key to a greater future? The Solari Empire had changed ever since the humans arrived. What began as curiosity had become a quiet revolution. Every place the humans visited, labs, markets, academies, and even military stations, felt different afterward. Their ideas spread like light inside dark halls, showing new paths that no one had seen before. Still, High Chancellor Zyron remained unsure. He respected the humans, but he needed proof that humans truly possessed something rare. So he planned a grand event. It would be a demonstration, a test, and a challenge. His goal was simple. He wanted to measure the real depth of human ability. He called it the Grand Convergence. The entire Empire prepared for it. From far planets, alien leaders arrived with their guards. Scholars filled massive crystal halls to witness the gathering. Soldiers stood at attention, curious to see the little species that had shaken their mighty empire. At the center of the floating city of GalacticPrime, a giant arena was built. Its floor was made of energy panels, changing color with every movement. Above it floated glowing spheres, holding complex machines. Screens larger than mountains displayed information in alien symbols. This was where the humans would be tested. Captain Elena Cross walked into the arena with her team. She did not look afraid. Her steps were calm, her eyes sharp. Behind her were Dr. Malik, Engineer Sarah, Diplomat Rohan, and several scientists. They all stood with quiet confidence. The Solari elders watched from tall seats, shaped like shining towers. Zyron stood at the center, his body glowing with authority. "Humans," he said in a deep voice, "today you will face challenges created by the best minds of the Solari Empire. They are not meant to harm you. They are meant to reveal your truth. Show us who you are." Elena bowed her head politely. "We are ready." The first challenge began. The Labyrinth of Logic. A huge structure formed around the humans, made of floating plates and shifting walls. Every second, the walls changed position. Strange puzzles appeared on glowing panels. Aliens had solved this labyrinth only with strong machines and advanced processors. Elena studied the shifting patterns, then turned to her team. "Work together, divide the puzzles, communicate." The humans moved quickly. Sarah solved energy loops using simple math. Dr. Malik predicted wall movements using patterns the aliens had never noticed. Rohan coordinated the group. Calling out instructions, the aliens watching from above whispered in shock. "They do not panic. They do not attack the maze. They adapt to it. They think in ways we do not." The humans finished the labyrinth not only successfully but faster than most alien teams ever had. Zyron leaned forward, his eyes narrowing not in anger, but in interest. The second challenge began. The Bridge of Storms. A long energy bridge appeared in the air, surrounded by violent lightning storms. Crossing it required perfect balance and delicate control. Most species used advanced armor or drones. Humans had none of that. Elena stepped onto the bridge with calm precision. The lightning struck, but the humans did not run. They observed the pattern of every bolt. They moved between strikes. They talked, supported one another, and adjusted their positions together. Left side, 3 seconds. Step back, now forward. Wait, move. Their voices echoed through the arena. The aliens stared, stunned. No panic, no chaos, only teamwork and trust. When the humans reached the other side, many spectators stood silently in disbelief. Some clapped for the first time in centuries. Even Xiron felt something shift inside him, respect, deep and unexpected. But the final challenge was the one that shook the Empire completely. It was called the Heart of Harmony. At the center of the arena, a giant sphere floated. Inside it, unstable energy swirled, creating waves that caused imbalance in everything around it. Scholars had tried to stabilize this energy for centuries. The sphere was a symbol of a mystery the Solari could never solve. Xiron turned to the humans. This is not a puzzle. It is not a weapon. It is a question. If you can understand it, then perhaps we can understand you. The humans approached the sphere. Sarah checked readings. Dr. Malik took notes. Rohan studied the energy's rhythm. Elena placed her hand gently near the sphere, not touching it, only feeling it. It's not chaotic, she said softly. It has a pattern. But the pattern isn't perfect. It needs balance, not control. Her voice echoed through the arena. Aliens leaned forward. No one had spoken of the sphere this way before. How do we balance it? Sarah asked. Elena smiled. We don't force it. We guide it. The humans began working together. They set up small devices, tools they built from their simple equipment. Nothing advanced. Nothing powerful. Just clever. They adjusted the energy slowly, gently, until the swirling chaos became softer. The colors inside the sphere shifted to calm tones. The energy waves smoothed like water after a storm. Then, shockingly, the sphere stabilized. It shone with pure, steady light, something no alien in the Empire had ever seen. The arena erupted in gasps. Scholars dropped their tools in disbelief. Soldiers stepped back. Elders stared with wide eyes. Even the screens flickered, unsure how to process the new data. Lyran, the young scholar who admired humans from the beginning, whispered, They solved it. Something our best could not understand. High Chancellor Xiron stood completely still. His entire body glowed brighter, a sign of deep emotion among his species. He did not speak for several seconds. Then he slowly stepped down from his high platform. All eyes followed him as he approached Elena and her team. He circled the stabilized sphere once, examining it with wonder. Finally, he spoke in a quiet voice that carried through the arena. Humans have shown us something we lost long ago. The aliens watched silently as he turned to the humans. For centuries, we believed strength was in power. We believed knowledge lived only in complex machines. We believed wisdom belonged only to the oldest species. He paused. But today, you proved us wrong. You solved what we could not solve. You showed harmony where we only saw control. You crossed storms with unity. You faced challenges with calm minds. The arena remained silent. Then Xiron said words no alien expected. You have revealed a truth to us. A truth that leaves us speechless. Every alien stood. Some placed their hands on their hearts. Others bowed their heads. Respect for humans spread through the arena like a wave of light. But the event wasn't finished yet. After the challenge, a crisis occurred, one that would deeply prove humanity's nature. A shockwave suddenly hit the arena, caused by a malfunction in one of the floating spheres. The structure began to collapse. Energy panels broke apart. Aliens panicked, running in fear as pieces fell from the sky. Without thinking, Elena shouted, Everyone, stay together. Move to the clear zone. The humans rushed into the chaos, helping aliens escape danger. Sarah lifted a fallen beam off a young scholar. Dr. Malik shielded 2 children from falling debris. Rohan guided soldiers out of collapsing sections. Elena herself rescued an elder whose leg was trapped. They acted with no hesitation and no fear. The Solari watched, stunned again. Humans did not save only their own team. They saved every alien they could reach. When the danger ended, Xiron stepped forward, looking deeply moved. You saved us. Even when we did not ask. Even when you were tested. Even when this was not your world. Elena answered simply, Life matters. Every life. Those 2 words struck the hearts of every alien present. From the stands, Lyran whispered, They are not here to impress us. They are here to guide us, the elders murmured among themselves. For the first time, they felt something they had not experienced in centuries: humility. After the crisis, the humans were honored in a private chamber. The walls shimmered softly, absorbing the emotions of the day. Xiron looked at Elena, his expression full of respect. You have changed us. Not with power, not with force, but with wisdom, courage, and compassion. Asma, Elena shook her head gently. We only showed what we believe in. But belief, Xiron said, is the greatest power of all. He gestured to the glowing sphere now safely contained. You solved what we believed unsolvable. You saved lives without hesitation. And you guided us without looking down on us. He paused. Humans are far greater than the galaxy ever believed. The humans exchanged humble smiles. The Solari Empire had learned a truth it never expected. Intelligence is not just knowledge. Strength is not just force. Greatness is not just age or technology. Humans, simple and fragile compared to many species, had revealed something pure and powerful, a truth that left the entire empire speechless. The convergence ended not with celebration, but with reflection. Aliens returned to their planets thinking about the human example. Soldiers reconsidered their training. Scholars questioned old theories. Elders felt a new light glowing inside them, one that humans had awakened. But the journey was not over. High Chancellor Xiron called one last meeting. Tomorrow, he said, we will offer the humans something we have never offered any species before. A partnership of equals. The galaxy was about to change forever, and the humans, unknowingly, were standing at the center of a revolution. The galaxy was never the same after the Grand Convergence. Humans, once considered a fragile species, had revealed strengths that no alien had anticipated. Intelligence, courage, and compassion, qualities the Solari Empire had long undervalued, now became central to their view of what a civilization could achieve. High Chancellor Xiron moved carefully in the days following the event. His once rigid halls were now filled with whispers of curiosity and cautious excitement. He called a council unlike any before. Not only the elders, but scientists, diplomats, and even soldiers were invited. The purpose was clear: to decide what to do about humans now that their abilities and wisdom had been proven. Elena Cross and her team were invited to the council chamber, a vast room of shimmering crystal walls and floating data panels. When they entered, they saw hundreds of alien faces staring at them. Some were filled with awe, others with skepticism, and a few with fear. But all recognized the humans' importance. Xiron spoke first. His voice echoed through the chamber. Humans, you have done what no other species could. You have solved challenges we believed impossible. You have saved lives without hesitation. You have guided us, not with domination, but with insight. The Council has discussed your place among us. We wish to offer a partnership. Elena nodded, listening carefully. She understood that this was more than diplomacy. It was a chance to shape the future. Partnership, Xiron continued, means access to our knowledge, our technology, and our civilizations. But it also means responsibility. You will not lead by force, but by wisdom. You will not dominate, but inspire. Dr. Malik, speaking for the human team, replied with humility. We do not seek control. We only wish to learn, to share, and to help build a galaxy where every species can thrive. If our presence can guide your empire toward fairness, understanding, and creativity, we will do our best. The chamber remained silent for a moment. Then, one by one, the aliens began to nod. Even the most skeptical elders realized that humans represented something unique, a model of intelligence combined with empathy. The first step of the partnership began immediately. Humans worked alongside Solari scholars to stabilize unstable planets, improve energy grids, and repair infrastructure. What had once been slow, rigid processes now moved with speed and creativity. Human ingenuity inspired the aliens to approach old problems in new ways. One of the most remarkable projects involved a planet suffering from violent storms that had destroyed much of its ecosystems. Alien engineers had tried for centuries to control the storms using energy shields and automated drones. The humans, however, approached the problem differently. Elena studied the planet's climate patterns. Dr. Malik analyzed wind currents. Sarah examined the soil, water, and plant life. Rohan worked with local alien leaders to coordinate efforts. Instead of forcing the storms to stop, the humans found ways to redirect the energy, channeling it safely into reservoirs and creating zones of stability for life to flourish. Within weeks, areas that had been devastated began to recover. Plants grew, animals returned, alien communities were able to rebuild. Observers from across the empire took notes. They had long believed that dominance was the only way to succeed. Now, they saw that harmony, understanding, and clever adaptation could achieve results far beyond brute force. As the months passed, humans also shared cultural knowledge. They introduced art, music, literature, and philosophy to alien societies. Galleries filled with holographic paintings inspired by Earth landscapes appeared on distant planets. Music composed by humans, simple yet full of emotion, moved aliens in ways they had never imagined. Soldiers, once trained only in war, now learned strategies of negotiation and empathy. Scholars, once focused solely on facts and calculations, began exploring questions of morality and purpose. The Solari Empire, for all its power and knowledge, began to change from within. Even Xiron felt a personal transformation. The stern, commanding figure who had once ruled through authority now considered patience, reflection, and cooperation. He spent hours with humans, learning how they approached challenges, how they built relationships, and how they inspired trust. One day, a delegation of alien leaders gathered on the capital's observation deck. They watched as humans worked alongside engineers to construct a massive communication network connecting dozens of planets. Elena explained each step, showing how cooperation, careful planning, and respect for local ecosystems allowed faster, safer construction than previous methods. "This is incredible," one elder whispered. "They are small, fragile. Yet they achieve more than we ever imagined." A young soldier added, "It is not just what they do. It is how they think. They see connections we never noticed. They value life in ways we do not." Even distant planets began to feel the humans' influence. Aliens who had been isolated for centuries now sought guidance from Earth's visitors. Conflicts that had lingered for decades began to resolve peacefully. Trade networks expanded. Knowledge sharing became the new standard. The humans themselves remained humble. They never claimed credit. When praise was offered, they insisted it was a joint effort. They always emphasized the importance of cooperation and learning from one another. Months later, Xiron called a galaxy-wide assembly. Leaders from hundreds of civilizations arrived on Zalora Prime. The humans were invited to speak. For the first time, beings from across the stars listened not as rulers or subjects, but as peers, equal in purpose and vision. Elena addressed the assembly. "We have traveled far to meet you. We did not come to conquer or to claim power. We came to learn, to share, and to grow together. Every species, every life, has value. We believe that understanding, cooperation, and empathy can achieve more than force ever could. The universe is vast, and we are small, but together, we can build something greater." The assembly was silent, not because of fear, but because the message resonated deeply. For centuries, many civilizations had acted only in self-interest. Humans had reminded them of something forgotten: that greatness lies not in dominance, but in wisdom, courage, and care. High Chancellor Xiron stood beside her. "We have learned much from humans," he said. "And now, we choose to follow their example. Let this assembly mark a new era for the galaxy." Plans for the new era spread quickly. Humans helped establish councils for cooperation among planets. They introduced scientific collaborations across systems. They guided ethical frameworks for decision-making and conflict resolution. The galaxy began to shift from fear and hierarchy to understanding and shared progress. Even the military, long focused on conquest, adapted. Soldiers trained in human-inspired strategies that emphasized protection over aggression. They learned to value intelligence, foresight, and moral responsibility. Humanity's influence reached its peak when a long-standing war between two alien sectors finally ended. For centuries, these civilizations had battled over resources and borders. Alien diplomats tried and failed to negotiate peace, but humans, using careful dialogue, listening, and creative problem-solving, proposed compromises that satisfied both sides. Within days, the war ended. The galaxy celebrated, and the humans were quietly acknowledged as the architects of this peace. Despite all this, the humans did not take credit. They continued their work, exploring planets, solving problems, and learning from every species they met. They knew their role was not to dominate, but to inspire. Years passed, and the Empire flourished. Technology advanced, but it was guided by wisdom. Conflicts were resolved peacefully, but defenses were maintained in case of danger. Life thrived on planets that had once been barren or war-torn. Xiron, older now and wiser, reflected on the transformation. "We believed we were the greatest," he told Lyran one day. "We thought our knowledge and power were enough. But humans taught us something more important. Greatness is measured by courage, wisdom, and compassion. Without them, all knowledge is empty." Lyran nodded. "They have changed the galaxy without weapons, without domination, simply by being themselves." Elena, watching from the observation deck, smiled quietly. She knew the galaxy's transformation would continue, long after she and her team returned to Earth. Humans had planted a seed, one of curiosity, cooperation, and courage that would grow for generations. And so, the Solari Empire, once rigid and fearful, became a civilization that valued every life, respected every culture, and embraced the possibilities of unity. Humans had arrived as outsiders, fragile and small, but through wisdom, compassion, and ingenuity, they had become a beacon, a reminder that even the smallest species could inspire the galaxy to greatness. The stars shone brighter that night, as if celebrating the change. Across countless planets, beings looked to the sky and wondered what could be achieved when intelligence was paired with heart. The humans had shown the answer, and in every corner of the Empire, from crystal towers to distant outposts, the aliens whispered the same truth, now clear and undeniable. Humans were not just visitors. They were teachers, guides, and heralds of a new era. The galaxy had been forever transformed,